virtual applause. Thank you, Brian Fitzgerald. We call him Fitzy. He is the most amazing entertainment. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Brian, for joining us today. Thank you so much. So without further ado, good morning, everyone. While everyone's joining, I'm just going to provide some welcome remarks for our last SBW trademark event of 2021. Another year ending, and we are so grateful for your continued support of the Society of Professional Women at the Mainline Chamber of Commerce. I'm Nicole Stevenson, the director of the SBW program. Despite all the challenges we've continued to face, we appreciate all of your support towards our efforts to face these challenges together, making us stronger to create a better future for all. SBW would not be possible without the continued support of our members and most of all our sponsors. So please allow me to share my screen and thank these sponsors that continue to support our mission, which is to accelerate the advancement and expand the influence of women leaders of all professions and generations, strengthen our business community, and support the region's nonprofit organizations. And be patient with our technology today, of course, as always. Thank you so much.
Guys, I'm Jen Ryan, so I am Jen from Jen and Bill in the Morning here on Philly's B101.1, and B101 is so happy to be a sponsor of the Society for Professional Women, and we want to welcome you to today's event, which could not happen without our sponsors. So I'd like to take a minute right now to thank them. The champion sponsor, Wells Fargo. Communication sponsor, Comcast Business. Employee benefit sponsor, My Benefit Advisor. Women's health sponsor, Mainline Health. Diamond sponsor, B101.1. Women Helping Women sponsor, Fidelity Investments. And education sponsor, St. Joseph's University.
And now our platinum sponsor, Stradley, Ronan, Stevens, and Young.
Hi guys, it's Phil Tafro from the Jen and Bill Show on Philly's B101.1. Thank you so much for listening to us every morning. And right now, I'd like to thank the gold sponsors of today's program.
1847 Financial, Closets by Design, Enterprise Holdings and Fleet Management, First Trust Bank, Mainline Today, Montgomery County Community College, MRS Audiovisual, UGI Amerigas, United Healthcare, Univest Corporation, and Vertex. Silver sponsors, Aqua, CSL Bearing, Ernst & Young, The Giant Company, Pico, Pictures by Todd Photography, Suburban Square, Villanova College of Professional Studies, and WSFS Bank.
Yay, virtual applause. These companies demonstrate a commitment to gender equity and diversity. Among them, we'd also like to thank our event sponsor for today's program, AARP, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox Merage Realtors, and Delaware Valley Friends School. We'd also like to welcome our newest gold sponsor, Curaleaf. Please support these businesses whenever possible. A few announcements. SBW's annual supplement and Mainline Media News publications were distributed to over 20,000 homes in the Mainline region. This year, our theme was focused on putting a value on loyalty. You can learn more about our programming and sponsors by visiting sbwmainline.com to view a digital copy. We are currently recruiting for our Women Helping Women peer mentoring program. Individuals meet monthly throughout the course of the year and learn from experts as well as their peers. For more information about that, you can email me directly at nstevenson@mlcc.org. Our next event will be in the new year on Thursday, January 13th with best-selling authors, TEDx speakers, and co-founders of Brilliantly Resilient, Mary Fran Bontempo and Kristen Smedley for Rise and Thrive, how to take action and move from a setback to a comeback. As always, you can register for all of our events at sbwmainline.com, and you continue to help us serve you by communicating with our staff, taking our surveys, and by interacting with us on social medias. You can use our hashtags today, hashtag MLCC and hashtag SBWmainline.com. Thank you for your support. Please remember to submit your questions in the Q&A function only so that we can view them at the end of the program. We do encourage you to put your contact information in the chat function or to engage in dialogue through the chat function. And you can save that at any point by clicking on the 3 dots at the bottom of the chat. So I recommend you do that towards the end so you can capture everyone's information. In order to continue our efforts to connect individuals with one another through networking, we will be sending the attendee list from today with instructions on how to reach one another and a copy of the recording, which will also be available on spwmainline.com. We will be hosting breakout sessions after the Q&A today. Thank you to our volunteers for helping with that. And each attendee will have the opportunity to introduce themselves and their company, and a moderator will lead conversations with a proposed question from today's program to engage in the dialogue between the group of individuals. The link for the meeting rooms will be provided in the chat function now and via your registered email address, and again in the chat at the end of the formal program. Please be patient while we wait for everyone to make the transition to join. Now I'd like to welcome and thank Cherry Gregg for being our interview host today. Cherry is an important supporter of SPW, and we have enjoyed having her expertise when she can interview our featured guests, and she's also participated in our nonprofit roundtable programs. Cherry, we are so appreciative of your time, your appreciation, our appreciation for your continued support of the program and all the prep work that you do when we put on these events. So thank you. And welcome and special thank you to our highly respected featured guest, Dr. Joy Gates Black, for your leadership in our region and the preparation to bring an engaging presentation to our audience today. They are going to learn a lot from you. I look forward to both of your conversations today. Giving back to the nonprofit community is a big part of the SPW mission. In just over a decade, SPW has awarded over $80,000 to local nonprofits. We are thrilled that in addition to being our communication sponsor, Comcast Business joined our cause as our community giving sponsor. It's my pleasure to introduce Regional Advanced Sales Manager, Lisa Harmon McAllis, to today's program. Welcome, Lisa.
Good morning, ladies and everyone. Again, my name is Lisa Harmon McAllis, Regional Sales Manager for Comcast Business, and I cover the areas of Montgomery County as well as Berks County. It is always an honor, and I'm always so excited to really work with SPW. It has always been a labor of love for us, primarily because we are celebrating not only women, but women in business. Our passions continue to align to ensure that us women will continue to win. So thank you again, SPW, for having us partner with you. All right, so good morning again. So today's featured nonprofit organization is Teachers Teammates. In just a little over 1 year, Teachers Teammates has put more than $400,000 worth of donated school supplies into Delaware County classrooms. Fantastic. Formed by Raylan Harmon, H-A-R-M-A-N, not H-A-R-M-O-N, so we're already aligned together there, and a group of former educators and parents who know teachers have to reach into their own wallets too often just for basic classroom needs. Teachers Teammates solicits and collects donated supplies from individuals and businesses and gets them to Delco schools where 65% or more of students are eligible for free or reduced lunch. That's about 50 schools with the potential to help more than 2,000 eligible teachers. Fantastic. Since it started in July and early 2020, Teachers Teammates has grown from Raylan's Havertown home to a 3,000 square foot warehouse, and Folcroft to manage donations coming in from individuals and businesses. Their work not only repurposes donated goods for classrooms that really need them, but also helps the environment by keeping these supplies from the trash. We at Comcast Business are proud to support their efforts and today present them with a check for $1,000. Awesome, and thank you. So please welcome board member Karen Wong from Teachers Teammates to learn more about how they are helping teachers and how we can get involved. Welcome.
Lisa, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you to Comcast Business, SPW, and to the Mainline Chamber for having us today. I'm delighted to be with you to talk about the impact Teachers Teammates is having in classrooms across Delaware County and some of the ways you can join that effort. First, let me explain briefly how Teachers Teammates works. Delco educators, teachers, school nurses, counselors, administrators are eligible for membership. The annual dues are just $35, and with that, educators are entitled to 4 free shopping trips in the Teachers Teammates online store. There are more than 200 items available: crayons, notebooks, headphones, craft supplies, grade level books. Amazingly, each of these shopping trips averages $650 worth of free supplies. So where do all these supplies come from? That's the best part. They are all donated. Folks who cleaned out a closet and found a few extra 3-ring binders to tractor trailer loads of supplies from AC Moore, Ashley, and the Kids in Need Foundation. In addition to the supplies we put on our store, Teachers Teammates has also been able to distribute 20,000 bottles of donated hand sanitizer to schools we serve, and 2 cases each of disinfectant wipes to every educator. We also provided more than 200 gift bags for new hires. And we've partnered with companies like Pico and PSEA to give away backpacks of supplies at events like Chester Family Fun Day. There's so much more, but I only have 2 minutes. So quickly, here are the different ways that you can get involved. Go online to teachersteammates.org and sign up to volunteer some time working in the warehouse that you can see behind me, organizing supplies or filling teacher orders. This is great for individuals with just an hour or 2, or organizations and businesses looking for a day of service. Hold a supply drive. People often think of this as a back to school activity, but markers run dry, notebooks get filled up, supplies are always in need. You could sponsor a teacher. For just $35, your teacher could get more than $2,000 worth of free supplies in 1 year. Or better yet, sponsor a school. The Eddystone Youth Foundation paid the membership for 17 teachers at Eddystone Elementary. Remember us when you're cleaning out your own closets if you have supplies that would otherwise be tossed, or shelving or furniture that could be used for storage or shelving. And of course, we will always take your money, check, credit card, however you would like it, to help us defray costs of warehouse. So thank you so much for having us, and we really look forward to speaking with you in the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Lisa at Comcast Business. Thank you, Comcast Business. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Teachers Teammates. Thank you, Raylan. I seen you writing in the chat and interacting and getting people those links. So please make sure you're monitoring the chat. It's now my honor to introduce the chair of our SPW Advisory Council, Deborah Yelson. In her current role at First Trust as Vice President of their Bryn Mawr location, Debbie's primary responsibility is developing and maintaining relationships with business clients and future clients. She also serves as a mentor to both men and women to support their individual development as leaders. Prior to joining the Mainline Chamber of Commerce board, Debbie served on the Ambassador Committee for approximately 5 years. She is in her 2nd term on the board and executive board for MLCC, where she serves as secretary. She's also had the opportunity to participate in the SPW peer-to-peer mentoring program that I mentioned earlier, and has served on the SPW Advisory Committee since joining First Trust over 6 years ago. She also leads a Chamber Connect group with the Mainline Chamber. She is obviously one of our greatest advocates and advisor, and that is why I'm so pleased to announce that First Trust Bank will be the champion sponsor of SPW in 2022. And we look forward to growing and continuing this strong relationship. Please give Debbie a warm welcome to kick off our presentation today.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm so very happy to share that announcement with you today that we are becoming the champion sponsor for SPW in 2022. First Trust embraces and supports professional development for women, and we are just so excited about this wonderful opportunity. I am very excited about the program today and the women that I get the opportunity to introduce. So our first guest is the interviewer, Sherry Gregg. She's an afternoon drive host and news anchor for WHYY Radio. Prior to that position, she was an award-winning journalist. She covered civil rights, social justice, race and public affairs, issues that impact marginalized communities in all of the Philadelphia region. She spent nearly a decade on the radio at KYW News Radio, where she served as the station's community affairs reporter and is the creator, She was the inaugural host and executive producer of her own radio show, Flashpoint with Sherry Gregg. Under her leadership, the show earned 2 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards in 2021. Sherry, who was also a licensed attorney, is the past president of the Philadelphia Association of Business of Black Journalists. She was also named one of Philadelphia's most influential Black women by the Philadelphia NAACP. Also joining us today, being interviewed, is Dr. Joy Gates Black. Dr. Gates Black was selected unanimously by the by the Delaware County Community College Board of Trustees in 2017 to become the 4th president of the college. She is the first woman and the first African-American to head the college. She's a well-respected higher education administrator with decades of experience at both community colleges and 4-year institutions. Dr. Gates Black was chosen after an extensive national search to lead the college. This college serves 19,000 students, credit and non-credit students annually, both online at all their locations in Delaware, Chester, and Chester counties. He is also a U.S. veteran, U.S. Air Force veteran, and currently serves on several boards. And I'm just going to name a couple of them. She's really phenomenal. Foundation for Delaware County, Pennsylvania American Council on Educational Women's Network, Pennsylvania Military Academy Review Board, and the Pennsylvania Commission for Community College Council of Presidents. She's also received numerous awards. I'll just name a couple of those as well. A Woman of Achievement Award from the Delaware County Women's Commission, the Athena Leadership Award from the Delaware County Chamber, and the Gold Leaf Women in Leadership Award from the Mainland Chamber of Commerce. The Philadelphia Business Journal featured Dr. Gates Black on the front page in 2018, where she was listed as one of 12 change agents. I love that word, change agent. Sets high standards, not afraid to take bold action to help students achieve their educational goals in Greater Philadelphia. I think we are all in for a great treat today. Please join me in welcoming Sherry and Dr. Gates Black to have a conversation with us.
Thank you so much, Deborah, and thank you to First Trust for leaning into its support of the Society of Professional Women Mainline. Welcome, Dr. Gates Black. How are you this morning?
I am well. How are you, Sherry?
I am great, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, and we'll jump right in. First of all, we've had a chance to talk before today, and you, of course, came in, I think it's a little bit over 4 years ago at this point, to an institution that had a long history, Delaware County Community College. You're the first woman, first person of color to lead, and you are also an outsider coming into this organization. How did you approach building trust as a new leader? Tell us how you went about this.
Well, you know what? When you're coming in from the outside, you really have to take the time to get the lay of the land. So I came in and I did a lot of listening. I asked a lot of questions and listened a lot. You know, when you're coming in from the outside, and especially you're a woman, you're the first president that's a woman, you're the first person of color that's a president, you know that there's going to be a lot of eyes on you. And so it's important to make sure that you listen and that you really understand the culture of the institution, organization that you're coming to be a part of. I think that was probably the most important thing for me. And then demonstrating the kind of leadership, the kind of leader that I aspire to be throughout my life, which is someone who keeps their word, someone who demonstrates ethical behavior, someone who is a person of integrity, but also very approachable. You have to let people know that you don't spend all of your time in your office. You have to get out and meet people where they are, as opposed to expecting them to come to you. You know, it's very easy to stay in your office and get bogged down with papers and reports and email and all of that kind of wonderful stuff. But taking the time to really get out and meet people on campus, meet the students where they are, go to athletic events, go to plays, all of those different kinds of things helps people to see you in a different light. And so those are just some of the things that I did coming in the door. I was grateful when I negotiated my contract to come to Delaware County. One of the things that we put in it was the opportunity for me to come back 3 times to visit the institution before I took over. And I think that helped me greatly also to lay the foundation for developing trust and building relationships with the people that I was going to work with.
Yeah, and you've become like a fixture now in the community. I mean, you've been featured in the Philadelphia Business Journal. People know you now. You've become a part of our community, and that definitely has been evident. And I want to encourage people, if you hear amen moments as we dig into this conversation, please use the chat. We are apart right now because of this pandemic, but we can clap, you can high five, use those emojis, give an amen, a yes, I hear you, all of that, and encourage the conversation. And so how as you implemented this plan of listening, of coming out of your office, of opening your ears really, what kind of support did you have around you that helped you accomplish the type of change that they hired you to implement? Yeah.
Well, the first thing coming in as a new leader, it was important that I had the support of the people who hired me. That was critical for me because, you know, I'm not my predecessor. He was a wonderful leader, but I'm not my predecessor. And they hired me with expectations that they outlined. That's the other thing, is making sure that you have a clear understanding of what they're expecting of you as the new leader coming in the door. And so that was really beneficial to me, people understanding that I wasn't my predecessor. And so giving me that space to develop my own leadership style with them and giving them an opportunity to embrace that. I think that was really important for me. I think also letting people know that maybe we had done things one way, but there were other ways of doing things. And so being someone who can bring about that change, but doing it in a collaborative way. And I think that's one of the most important things is working with people and engaging others around change.
Yeah, and because we've all dealt with a lot of change, Dr. Gates Black, in the past couple of years.
Oh boy.
Change. And we'll talk about that in a little while.
Okay.
But one of the things that happened when you became the leader of DCCC is that, you know, you all had a leader who had been homegrown, spent decades at the institution. And there was a lot of senior people there who decided at that moment, they all kind of retired, taking with them some of the institutional knowledge that they had. And this is right as you're trying to get up to speed. What were some of the challenges you had to deal with? And then what were some of the things that were pros as you had to deal and navigate all of this change as you're trying to come in and become the leader?
Yeah. As you mentioned, my predecessor had been at the college for over 40 years, and he had been president for 12 of those years. So this is someone who knew the institution inside and out. And a lot of the leaders at the college had grown up with him in the institution. And when he decided that he was going to retire, he became ill suddenly. And I think that made a lot of our senior leaders who had been with the college for a very long time begin to think about and reflect about their own next options, their own next steps in their lives, and to think about maybe what comes next after work, or to create more balance in their lives. And so as a result of that, I lost my chief academic officer, I lost my CFO, I lost my VP for advancement, and I lost my vice president for enrollment. And my chief information officer.
Key positions, key positions.
positions within
Yeah.
any institution. And the thing about it is, it wasn't because of me, it was, they just decided to do this. And so, you know, one coming in the door, you never want to come in the door making all these changes. But when you're faced with this, you have to be prepared to respond to it. And so I fortunately had experience at a previous institution where I had a similar situation because of retirements, promotions, and transfers. And so first thing that I did was to let the institution know that we're going to be okay, to reassure the institution that we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this together, but it's going to take all of us working together. Yes, these are key positions that report to me, but we're all one college. We're all one organization. And so we're going to need to help each other. And I got lots of emails from people saying, we will help you in any way that we can. You just, you know, all that took was just asking people for their support. And I think that that was critical. And I think keeping people informed as we put people in interim positions, or as we went through the hiring process for new people, engaging the college community in the hiring process, I think that was really critical. You know, there are some pros to bringing in new people because they bring in a new perspective, they bring in new energy, but sometimes it also, it takes them a while to get up to speed with the culture of the institution. And so, you know, it's a help, but sometimes you have to balance the two. There's also the opportunity to promote from within, and we were able to do that as well as bringing new people from the outside. And certainly, you know, you're losing that institutional knowledge. Obviously, you're losing that. You're losing the history of the institution, and that is vital. You always need those people in your organization who know the history and are able to use that and frame it in a context that helps you in your decision making. So it's a healthy combination of both. It's some new people, it's some of my team members who were here before I got here, and they're still here, thankfully, and then bringing in new people and promoting from within. So we've finally gotten that balance there.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, you know, you are battle tested at this point when you went through when you went through that and came out on the other side. So
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations on getting through that. And because we have a lot of business owners in the audience, people are dealing with this right now.
Yeah.
And during this period that we call the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
There's talk about labor shortage. We got people, I shifted from one job to another job. A lot of people shifting, changing jobs. I'll give you an example. My sister-in-law worked in the hospitality sector for years. During the pandemic was furloughed, decided to go back to school, retool, and now she's in banking and loves it, right? A lot of people switching careers. What role, and we're going to shift a little bit from that discussion, what role do community colleges like DCCC play in addressing the types of shortages and skills gaps, and what changes do you see ahead to meet these employer demands? Because people are kind of pivoting because the pandemic, like when you came in at DCCC, people started reflecting on their life and thinking, what do I really want to do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, community colleges already play a major role by providing programs in education and training and career and technical programs. We also work collaboratively very closely with business and industry. Many of those business leaders sit on advisory committees at the college, and they're there to help to make sure that the training and education that we're providing is what they need in the workforce once the employees get there. And so we're glad to have them because they help us to do the best job that we can be. We also work closely with our state and our local workforce development boards on grants to support incumbent workers. And then we also offer dual enrollment. You know, community colleges have been offering dual enrollment for years, but we also offer dual enrollment in career and technical programs like automotive, carpentry, HVAC, and electromechanics. So we're doing a lot to already help. And we're really going to have to be at the heart of helping our economy to get back on track. So I'm excited to be a part of that. It's an exciting time to be a part of a community college. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I mean, people are retooling. I
Yes.
see people seeing community college as a way to save a lot of money because institutions are very expensive and community colleges offer an affordable option.
Well, and you know, something I said very early when I got here, Sherry, is I said, you know, I don't know if we realize it, but community colleges offer the greatest opportunity for our region to have an educated and skilled workforce. Now, that's the truth. That's our elevator speech encapsulated. That's it, because we offer all of that. But now, what do I see for the future? Well, first of all, our employers are not finding enough workers. That's the gist of it. And this is a shortage in Pennsylvania, but it's also across the country as well. I mean, some states are even bringing in employees from Canada and other places. Yeah. So we as a region, we've got to do a better job of attracting and retaining skilled talent. And I will say that I've seen some industries are starting to really offer signing bonuses more. And I don't know if maybe that may be something in the future that becomes more prevalent.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity for people to kind of, you know, level up in their own careers and move into jobs that they really want. But one of the things you talked about change, and we've been dealing with a lot during this pandemic, and you were, you know, the leader before the pandemic, and now how have things evolved at DCCC with regard to student, you know, experience dealing, you know, there during this pandemic?
You know what? I am so proud of our students because, you know, when we had to move to online instruction in March of 2020, they didn't miss a beat. They didn't complain. They adapted. And while online learning is maybe not the preferred modality for some of them, they didn't complain. They moved on. But I have to agree with you, this pandemic has had a huge impact and it's taken a toll on our students. I mean, colleges and universities across the country are seeing increases in mental health and anxiety, in addition to housing and food insecurity. At Delaware County, over 70% of our students work at least one job, and over 76% of our students are part-time. 31% of our students identify as parents, so daycare is critical for them. And of that 31%, 75% identify as first-generation college students. So what does all this tell us? Well, it tells us that our students are balancing and juggling work, college, children, and life in general. And that many of them don't have anyone in their households who've gone to college to help them navigate the college experience. So we've got to use what we've learned to create a more equitable and accessible college experience and environment. We can't just overlay the things that we were doing before the pandemic and expect our students to be successful. We've got to take the time to find out who our students are and what their needs are, and then respond to them. One of the things that we had done just before the pandemic hit is we did a heat map in Delaware County of where the majority of our students were coming from. And we found that the majority of the students in Delaware County were coming from southeast Delaware County, Upper Darby, Drexel Hill, Lansdowne, that area. And we had 2 locations in those areas, but they're smaller locations. They don't have science labs. So basically the students in those locations were having to take 2 buses and travel an hour and a half each way to get to the Marple campus in order to get the science courses that they needed. That's not equitable education for me. That's not providing equitable access. And so in response to that, we are looking to build a new Southeast campus in that area. But in the meantime, just before the pandemic started, we started offering a free shuttle that pick our students up and I'll take them to the campus. So they don't have to worry about catching buses. It will pick them up and bring them back on a set schedule so that they can get the courses that they need. That's the kind of equity that we need to do differently. Something called a high flex classroom. That's something where a professor is in the classroom and students are in the classroom with them. But with the technology, if a student becomes ill or has a childcare issue, they can be at home and log in and see the classroom the same way the other students are, and see the instructor and not miss out on that instruction. We have to plan around helping our students, because these are the needs. These are the things that they say that they need. And if you know that, then you have to work to respond to those needs.
Yeah, and that keeps the folks, the students in class, in school, and getting closer to completing their programs. Kudos to you and your organization for implementing those changes during one of the roughest times in our whole lifetimes, I'm sure, collectively. And I want to shift a little bit because we talked about the pandemic and how you had to change and the culture of the organization, and you had to shift the focus of the organization. What type of, did your military background, somebody in the comments said, when I mentioned battle tested, they said, I'm sure the battle, you were battle tested being part of the military, but how did your experience there sort of assist you in the way you view change and the way you adapt, or the way you approach implementing change in any organization?
Well, my time in the military absolutely does inform how I approach change. In the military, you learn how to work together as a team. You learn how to follow instructions. You build your self-confidence. You learn how to be a leader. And you also learn how to see change as an opportunity to explore new ideas and new ways of doing things. You also learn that if you don't change, you can become obsolete. So as the president of Delaware County Community College, I recognize the educational landscape that we have here with the huge plethora of colleges and universities that are here. My job as a leader is to keep my hand on the pulse of what's happening in higher education, but at the same time, stay true to the college's mission of providing that affordable, accessible education that enables all of our students to achieve their educational and career goals.
Yeah, that's great. And all of that kind of ties. I was looking at some of your experience from the military to going through doctoral programs, working at 4-year and 2-year institutions. I mean, you had a lot of experience sort of coming into DCCC. And so I got to ask you this, as president, what role do you take when in influencing workplace culture? Because you were hired to kind of shift things and, from the top down. How does that work in your view?
Well, and it's all the things that we've been talking about so far, Sherry. It's about instilling confidence and leadership. It's about being a person of integrity and demonstrating ethical behavior. Delaware County Community College has the distinction of being named a great college to work for 11 consecutive years by its faculty and staff before the pandemic. Now, that's no small feat, but that is a testament to the kind of work environment that exists at the institution. To receive the award, the college has to score high in areas like confidence in leadership, commitment to opportunities for growth and development, and communication. The communication is critical. And so as the president, my job is to demonstrate how we operationalize effective leadership. In other words, what does it look like? What does it look like? And to facilitate those ongoing opportunities for growth and development, to help people to be prepared for the jobs they're in now and prepare them for future roles as well. And then certainly to personally demonstrate clear, consistent communication. I can't say that enough. Communication is critical. That is really how we got through, I say, the pandemic, is keeping everybody informed. I did a lot of work out of my home office and during the pandemic. And what it did is I found the communication was critical. People really they looked to that communication from my office to say, we're okay, or what's going on. And that's trust. That they did that because they developed trust in the leadership, because you have to be a person who does what they say they're going to do. And someone who's not going to ask the staff to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. That's real important to me as a leader. And so those are the kinds of things that as a leader that I need to do, that I aspire to do every day. And I try to be intentional about those things. And I encourage the cabinet, my leadership team to do it as well.
Look, I'm writing this down, Dr.
Okay.
Kate Black. I wrote down, don't ask your staff to do things you would not be willing to do yourself. And that's a great leadership trait. But we got to point out, though, I mean, we all know people do not like change, I mean, especially, when we were dealing with so much at the same time. How do you overcome objections and the resistance that people may have when you're trying to roll out all of these different initiatives that you were given when you were hired and then hit with a pandemic?
Well, people fear change. It's just human nature. Fear change. What we have to do is to engage people in the why the change is needed and the how the change will positively benefit the organization, or in my case, our students. That's what you need to do. A colleague of mine once said, WIFM. It has to be about WIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it? You've got to connect them to this. And so you do that, and then that's a starting point. But I think before you can bring about change, you got to work closely with your organization to bring them along. I've often said to my team, you can't be a leader and not bring people along with you, because if you do and you don't bring them along, you'll turn around and you're all by yourself. And I can't do the work that needs to happen at the college by myself. And I'm not the only leader within the organization. So that's the other thing, is helping to foster others to become leaders and step into their leadership and lean into their leadership capabilities. I work closely with the cabinet to discuss the topics that we're proposing to change. I listen to them, I get their input, and I really do that because that also fosters shared accountability. In other words, it doesn't become Joy is saying we need to do this. It's we as the senior leadership at the college. Right now, we're going through something at the college, and I've been meeting with the senior leaders, and it's been difficult with all the different screens. I think we've had about 38 to 40 people on the screen. But to do what we needed to do, you've got to engage everybody. And you need to be willing to take the time to do that if you're about affecting change. You can't do it just because you want to see it get done. But now, once a decision is made about change, we all have to be on the same page. A leadership team needs to be united. They can't be seen publicly as divided, because that will undermine credibility. So I often ask the team, what are your thoughts? Where are you? What do you think? And they give me that feedback. They're comfortable we really hash out ideas. They're honest. And when we come to a solution, I said, okay, we are all part of this solution. We are all in this together. So the decision is made not by me, but by us. And that's how you bring people and make them accountable for the leadership when you're trying to bring about change.
Yeah. So you build consensus.
Yeah.
When you bring, because different people view leadership in different ways, and when you're making major changes, consensus building.
And sometimes it's consensus, sometimes it's not. I mean, I get that feedback, and I may or may not go with the decision or the thoughts over here. I may decide that's good, but there is a reason and a rationale that I'll give them for going this direction. So
that's good. And so you talked about this building of consensus, and even if you have to be the cheese that stands alone, you have a good rationale, your reasons are laid out, everybody's well communicated. So how do you communicate this, you know, in those instances where you do diverge from the consensus? How do you communicate that and then get people behind you on it if they disagree?
Well, and the thing about it is the cabinet. I talk with them. They are my probably 9 or 10 closest leaders, vice presidents. And then I work with the senior leadership, which are our faculty union, head of our shared governance body, directors, deans, assistant deans across the institution, and to engage them in the dialogue around the change and communicate it there. But then I also use regular opportunities within the college. I use faculty meetings. I use staff coffees. I have established office hours where anyone can come and talk to me about anything. But I use those kinds of opportunities for people who may not be comfortable saying it on a Zoom screen with 39 or 40 other people, but are comfortable talking to me one-on-one and really kind of hashing out and helping them to understand the direction that we're going. But again, it's really just continuously saying it, putting it in writing, talking about it at convocation at the beginning of the year, talking about it throughout the semester, talking about it at the end of the semester, talking about it at the beginning of the next semester. It's continuous conversation and communication.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my team members said, you know, we've already talked about that. We've told people. I said, yes, but that doesn't mean everyone knows. You say it, and then you find a way to say it again.
I gotta say, you have said the word communication probably 20 times. And it just says to me that communication is the number one thing.
It really, really is. And understanding the culture of your institution.
Yeah. And I gotta ask, because I've talked to a lot of people who are the first in any role, and there is a heightened level of scrutiny when you are the first. How do you personally deal with that? You know, because you do feel like, I feel like, do you feel the pressure? And you seem like you're very cool under pressure. But how do you personally handle that?
You know, for me, I have had some great mentors in my life who taught me and prepared me to sit in this seat. And many of them were first as well. And it's really about always understanding that you are under the microscope. Even if I wasn't the first, any president should be under the microscope, should be someone that is looked at and, you know, in a way that you want to make sure they're doing things the right way for their institution, for the community. You want to make sure they're representing them well. But I have to always think about the optics of things. You know, my husband teases me and said, okay, you know, babe, you're going to the grocery store. How do you look? You know, you can't, I can't just run out, you know, in a way, just to the grocery store like I might want to sometimes, and I'll be right back. But, you know, you have to think about and be presidential, if you will. You're always the president. I'm not the president 8 hours a day. It is ongoing. It's 24/7. And that's the role that a president has. And certainly as a woman of color, I recognize that I'm the first, but I hope I'm not the last to be in this role. And so I need to do everything I can to allow people to see me in this role beyond my skin tone or my gender. I need to let people see that I'm capable of doing the work.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation today about how, you know, with women, when you're the first, you kind of feel like if you know, there's not as much room to make a mistake sometimes. And that if you do make a mistake, it's like criticized or heightened visibility or amplified. And, you know, and so how do you balance the need to, you know, deal with that? Because you're going to make mistakes if you're implementing any changes, if you're doing it right?
Absolutely.
You might make some. So how do you balance the fear of making a mistake with the need to implement change and do things that have never been done before?
Well, and first of all, I always acknowledge that there are going to be mistakes. There
Yeah.
are going to be mistakes made. We're going to do our very best. And that's something that I had to get through to folks. I said, I'm not my predecessor. He was a wonderful person, but, I'm not him. I'm doing things the way that I see fit to do them in a way that can move the institution forward. But mistakes are going to be made, Sherry. They're going to be made. And I am fortunate to have a board that supports me and understands mistakes will be made. Even if I had been the person who had been here for 40 years, mistakes will be made.
Yeah.
And I have to give myself some grace. I have to remind myself to give myself some grace. Sometimes I'm always giving grace to others because I know that mistakes will be made. So sometimes I have to remind myself to give myself some grace.
Yeah. Amen. I love that grace, communication, and I love wisdom. What's in it? What's in it for me? Right?
Mhm.
Love it. And so we have a room. We only have about 9 minutes left in this discussion.
Okay.
And I want to encourage people to put your questions for Dr. Gates Black in the chat. But we have a room filled with business owners, managers, CEOs. Can you provide 2 to 3 pieces of guidance about how to embrace a culture of change to achieve greater equity, the type of equity you've been working towards?
Well, the first thing is you need to understand the current culture of your organization. Understand the current culture. And then secondly, understand why you want to make a change. What is the outcome that you're envisioning? What are you trying to get to? I think before you talk about change, why do you need to make the change? And then if you make change, what is the future that you're envisioning? I think you as a leader have to think about those things before you bring others along. And then after that, you begin to share it with others in the institution or the organization to get the pulse of what they think. I think hopefully you have colleagues in other locations that you can bounce these kinds of ideas off as well. If you're keeping your finger on the pulse of your industry, you know about changes that should be coming and that are happening successfully at other organizations. But you have to think about whether they're right for your organization. Just because someone over here has been successful with something, is it right for your organization? And that's why I say understand the culture of your organization now. Doesn't mean that culture can't change, but understand it now. Understand what it will take to get you to where it is you hope to be.
Wow. And I think that's a wonderful, because as a leader, you have to have a vision.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to have something for folks to get behind. And so we do have we have lots of local leaders in this area. And I want to, sort of talk about what you see that's good and what you see as not so good about the greater Philadelphia area and its potential to sort of impact other regions in this country.
Well, one thing that I see is a strength is there is such a collaborative spirit in this region. I mean, that's not surprising. Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. I would be surprised if it wasn't that way. But at the college, I have seen such a collaboration with our school districts, our university partners, with business and industry, with social organizations in the community as a whole. We do a great job of collectively working together. What we're not doing so much of a great job with is the issue of poverty. This is a challenge in many cities, but I mean, the poverty rate in Philadelphia is 23% based upon the census. And in Chester City, it's 31%. When you have that kind of inequity, that trickles down. That impacts education, healthcare, housing, employment, and food. And so I would hope that as we use this collective spirit, we have to do a better job of coming together. Education is not the end all be all. I don't think education is the only way to resolve the issues of poverty, but I think it will play a key role. And so that's something I think we can do a better job with.
And thank you for mentioning poverty. And we do have a question that sort of ties right in line with what you said. It's from the Women's Resource Center asking a question about the college, because women have been extremely impacted, or should I say, they've been impacted disproportionately by the pandemic. So many women have had to leave the workforce to care for children and things like that. Is the college taking on any strategies for helping the many women impacted by this time?
We have some great organizations for parents, women who are parents. We have those kind of initiatives here at the college, and we are looking at other ways that we can better support them. We have our KEYS program, which is Keystone Scholars, which provides resources to students to help them who are parents, or even taking care of elder parents as well. So we have those kinds of resources, but I think that's something we need to do. We have to look at how we can do more of that. One of the things that we have done at the college is we've expanded our Student Resource Center. And it's not just offering food and toiletries and all of that, but it's also offering gently used clothing to support women and men as they go out for interviews and what have you. Our counseling center is looking for ways to create webinars that support women. So there's work to be done, and we're excited about it.
That's beautiful. And it's a focus. It's on your mind. And that's
it is a focus. It is a focus.
And our
the largest percent of students are women.
Yeah. And women are graduating, you know, they're the majority graduating from colleges these days. So women are out there on this workforce. And I hope that we come back. I hope that ladies come back. And we're only a few more minutes left, and Dr. Gates Black, I've truly enjoyed our conversation, but we have our final question from an anonymous attendee today saying, embracing a cultural change. How does one who is not at the top of the company, but they're still a leader, but how do they help the company create change? How do they influence the CEO and the staff to embrace the change? Great question.
It is a great question. One of the things I learned about being a leader in the military is that you can lead from wherever you are. You don't have to be the major, the captain, the lieutenant. You can be an airman, and all it takes is a willingness to lead and to step out and to lean into it. One of the things that I would suggest to someone who is considering that is to look for opportunities to showcase your capabilities. Take on special projects that allow you to be seen, and put yourself out there, go to conferences if those are possible, but talk to the senior leader and your supervisor about succession planning. You know, succession planning is something that's huge. So if there is someone who has a goal of someday sitting in my seat, then how do we begin to groom you early on and prepare you to get there?
Yeah, I like lead from where you are. I absolutely enjoyed our conversation. Dr. Joy.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm Cherry Gregg with WHRY. You can hear me on 90.9 FM. Nicole, thanks for having me today. I learned this. Look, I have my own notes.
Thank you. Thank you, Cherry. Seriously, we couldn't do this without you. You're wonderful. Thank you for all your research, and you're engaging our chat, and everything that you did was wonderful. And of course, thank you, Dr. Joy Gates Black, for your time today. We know you're a very busy woman, so I already have people telling me they're going to watch the replay. So I know you had some really wonderful sentiments that you shared with people that hopefully they'll be implementing these changes right away. So thank you both for your time.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
Applause, right? Use those emojis, as Cherry said. And I want to encourage everyone to look at that recording when it comes through your email. Make sure you take our survey. Register for any of our events at spwmainline.com. Our next event is on January 13th. As always, you can reach out to myself or our other Mainline Chamber staff members. I know some of them are including their email addresses in the chat box if we can help you or your business.